Flip, 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 flip. Flip Weekly.
Hey, what's going on? How are you? This is Matt from Flip Weekly. You're listening to the Flip Weekly podcast. How are you? I hope you had a great week thrifting. I hope you hit up some garage sales on the weekend. I hope you also crushed it. I hope you crushed it as well as this reader that reached out on Instagram after, when was it that I was talking about foot rot flats when I broke it all down? Was it last week or the week before? I was not expecting to receive a message from a reader saying, and I quote, 90% of the time they find nothing in the thrift, but on a lunch break on a random Tuesday, they went and they found the complete collection of foot rot flats, plus the weekender version complete and the collector's edition complete, all for $5 each. And then he was able to get a 30% discount. That is insane. So go back and read last week's issue of Flip Weekly or listen to last week's podcast or the week before, I can't remember, when I talked about foot rot flats and what the deal is with it, where so many resellers are trying to find it and trying to sell it. But I realized that so few of the issues are worth any money. And the main thing you should be aiming for is to find the complete collection or build up a collection. And here this reader is on a random Tuesday finding the complete collection in a thrift store for $5 each. I mean, the total spent on these books has to be, I mean, what does that equal up to? Like, let me do the maths for you. Okay, if this guy paid $5 for all 27 books, that adds up to $135. That alone on eBay sells for over $1,000. So this reader has been able to find not just that, but the add-ons to foot rot flats, the weekender and the collector's edition. There are a couple more books there. So let's just say $150, and then you add on this 30% discount they're able to get. They're going to make over $1,000 just from finding this complete collection. It blows my mind. I'm so jealous. The fact that I was only talking about it the other day and now all of a sudden it's been manifested into reality. Is that a good luck charm? Is it the universe playing a cruel joke on me? Either way, I'm so happy that someone was able to find it. I didn't think it was going to happen. When would a thrift store ever get every single foot rot flats and not bother to look them up and instead price them at $5 each? That I've never seen that before. The sticker on the books is Lifeline. Lifeline is usually pretty good with books in the sense that they know what they're selling. You know, they have the Lifeline book fair all the time. You would think that they come across foot rot constantly. And somebody would have mentioned that, you know, we should probably keep these because they're worth $1,000. We shouldn't put them on the floor for $135. The reader said that when they bought them, they didn't think they would all be there, and then, you know, started counting them and realized that they were. I could just imagine the feeling of going through them, just starting like 1, 2, 3, 4, and just thinking like there's going to be at least one missing. And then to get to like the end, 27, and then there's even more after that. My heart would have been pounding. I would have been like $1,000. There's a $1,000 lottery ticket right here. It's just honestly insane. And congratulations to that reader. I couldn't be more happy. I can't believe it. That's like the find of the week. You know, what I'm about to talk to you about, everything that I've bought and sold doesn't measure up to what this reader on Instagram has found. So you may as well stop listening here. We're 4 minutes in. It ain't going to get much better than this. I'm not going to rant about the Pokemon cards from last week. I don't have that story anymore. I mean, for a quick update on that, the guy hasn't started the return yet. He hasn't popped them into the post box. I don't know whether they're buying time. They have until April 4th to return the items. I'm hoping they might be a bit scared that I asked them to sign a stat deck to say that everything they've said is true. I'm hoping that they're a bit scared of doing that, because then it means that I won't have to refund them $500 and convince eBay that the cards were returned unsealed, so I should only have to pay 50% of that. I don't want to have to go through that. I don't have to deal with eBay. I don't have to deal with this guy. So here's hoping that April 4th rolls around and then nothing happens. So yeah, I'm happy about that. We've also got some buys for this week. We've got some sells from this week. The Aussie Flipper on YouTube, you'll know him, has generously provided me with a account on his new piece of software that I've been able to go in, have a look. I've written a bit of a review on the newsletter. I'll tell you a bit more about it later on. It's this spreadsheet alternative for tracking your eBay inventory and your eBay sales, which, a lot of us are using spreadsheets. Might be about time that we switch to software. So I'll go through that. I'll also give you an update on the WWE wrestling action figures that went to auction last week. I traveled 200 kilometers for them. And did I even break even? That's what I'm going to tell you. Did I even break even? Or was the trip a waste of time? And was all that I got out of that trip a 7-Eleven Slurpee? Let's first get straight into what I bought, and then we can move on to everything else. So the very first thing I bought this week, I got lucky in a Lifeline. We were just talking about Lifeline. They have hooked me up with something so fucking cool that if it was just in a bit better condition, I would have kept it for myself and proudly displayed it until I decided to sell it. But it is a CD Walkman, and man, these Sony CD Walkmans, I think they're so cool. This is a silver one. I'm not going to tell you the model number, but if you saw a picture of it, this thing would just bring you back to high school, because I'm assuming you're the exact same age as me and you went through the exact same childhood as me. This thing, man, it reminds me of just being at school, listening to what were some of the CDs from high school. I mean, they would have been Paramore, Misery Business. What was that album? You know, the album which has all the graffiti on the front. I think it was called Riot. It would have been Paramore, Riot. It would have been oh man, before that it would have been like So Fresh. Does anyone remember So Fresh CDs? I would have stolen them off my sisters and just listened to probably like one track over and over and over again. Maybe Green Day. Yeah, maybe I would have stole like my dad's Meatloaf CD, Bat Out of Hell. But yeah, these Sony Walkmans, like, I mean, kids these days, they may not even know what a Sony Walkman is, what a CD Walkman is, because this is before iPhones. Like, you have to go back a few different generations, right? Generations of technology. Before iPhones, before iPods, even before MP3 players, this is what we had. They were Walkmans. They were called Walkmans because you literally had to walk while you're listening to them, because if you ran, these things are going to skip and it's going to ruin your CD, right? Like it'll jump, it'll like spaz out really bad. So if you had like this CD Walkman in your pocket, you had like the wired headphones going up to your ears. If you're cool like me, you'd put the wiring underneath your shirt so no one could see it. And these things were just really cool. They were an improvement over the what was the tape version? Sony had like a not a Discman, I guess it's just like a Sony portable cassette player, right? It's an improvement of that. So I guess us kids thought it was cool because we didn't have to deal with tapes. We had to deal with CDs. And I mean, sometimes I think that when I'm remembering back on this, it's just like romanticizing the past, because I think like how cool they were, but at the same time, I mean, this is like the size of a stack of pancakes that you have to fit in your pocket. And if you're not buying albums, you're buying CD singles. You have to keep like 30 CDs in your bag so that you can listen to different songs. You have to physically open the Walkman, put in a new CD, like close it back up. I mean, put it back in your backpack and go on listening to it. It might be romanticized in the past, because that does not sound convenient in the slightest. It sounds hell inconvenient, to be honest. So, maybe we should be a bit more appreciative of the luxuries that we have today with iPhones and modern smartphones that you can just have the entire discography of every single artist in the world in your pocket. I mean, that is a luxury. But I think to me, these are still nostalgic. To me, these are still really cool. I think the product design of them is something that you don't see nowadays. When a new CD Walkman came out with a different design, some of them would be transparent, some of them would have like sleek silver designs. Compare it to nowadays when new products are announced. If there's a new iPhone coming out, what's the difference of it? That it's got a better camera and it might be bigger or smaller. And everything else is exactly the same. But think of a Walkman, man, or think of what came before it, the cassette tape, and imagine going from that to that. It's just, it blows my mind. So I found this in the Lifeline. It had a tag on it for $25. It had a bunch of writing on it too. Luckily for me, they wrote on the tag instead of writing on the box. That's happened before where they've wrote, what was it for the Nokia 3315 that I picked up? They wrote collectible on the box. The dumbest thing you could fucking do. I think I said at the time it's like writing like famous painting over like a fucking Picasso painting, just ruining it. So they wrote it on a tag. They wrote working with a smiley face. They wrote CD Walkman tested 2 AA batteries, and they've also said on it that the LCD display does not work, which is fine for me. I can still sell this even if the LCD display is not working, because all the LCD display shows is like the track number or the play or pause. It doesn't show like the lyrics. It doesn't show the song name. It just shows the current track number. And that isn't really that big of a deal. Would it be for a collector? I think is the question. But I honestly don't think so. If you're buying it in the box, I think you're buying it to display it and just make sure that the item is inside and in working condition. So yeah, I wasn't too worried about that. And just remember that when you buy something and it says that it's been tested and that it's working from a thrift store, you want to be testing it and making sure it works yourself. Do not rely on the thrift store employees or volunteers to test it out for you, because their version of testing and then an eBay buyer's version of testing could be completely wrong. They put in 2 AA batteries and just sees that it turns on and that's it. Whereas us, we want to make sure all the buttons work. We want to make sure the CD plays all the way through. We just want to do a more thorough testing. It's great that they tested it out, but you want to do more testing. So I took this back, $25, and everything works exactly like it says. LCD display wasn't working. That's fine. Inside the box, it had the original player. It had like a little case thing. Not a case. It had like this little... What are those little... they're not styrofoam, but that sort of material. It's like a pouch that they sit in. I had one of those. I had all the instruction manuals. I had the original receipt too, which I thought was cool. And it didn't have any headphones. Not a big deal, I don't think. But I think they've priced these based on like the loose comps and also the international comps, because this Walkman sells for a higher price in Australia than it does overseas, where it's much more common. We have what I call the Australia tax here, because we're in Ireland, you can charge a bit more. What's funny is I always bitch about that when it comes to anything I'm not selling. The hitting Australians with the Australia tax, like a new game comes out and it's like $150. Overseas you can get it cheaper. I'm like, they're doing this because us Australians do not give a fuck. We'll pay whatever they ask us to. Here I am putting an Australia tax on things. It's very hypocritical of me to be doing this, but anyway, I put an Australia tax on. The console by itself, the CD Walkman by itself, it comps for around $50 to $80. Some of the $80 sales are not tested too, so that's good. It means that we can sell this for a bit more than that. My default numbers when I'm going to a garage sale, because I sometimes find these at garage sales, I've never found a Sony one, I've found like worse brand versions. I always think around $25 on Marketplace, $50 on eBay. So that's usually what I'm I'm thinking when I find a CD Walkman in the wild. However, it changes once we have the box. And I've said this so many times, I hope that I can drill it down, is that when you have the box, when you have any sort of original packaging and it's not just loose, especially for old vintage items, you can charge more because collectors, they want the box. Think back, like I said earlier, about the Nokia 3315 phone. Okay, you can buy that phone for $20 online. Me as a collector, I wouldn't buy that because I want the box. I want to be able to show it off. I want to be able to put it on a shelf, say this is the original box. It has everything inside. That is the sort of display that I would want. So I think about that when I'm finding these sort of items. And there's a boxed version of this CD Walkman on eBay sold comp for $150 plus postage. So there's no reason to suggest that I cannot get $150 for this CD Walkman. So I've listed it up for the exact same price, $149.95. I think I did free post for it. And the discrepancy between the loose version and the boxed version can be around $100. So if you find something old boxed with the original box, just know that it can be worth more. You are also going to want to open the box in the thrift store to make sure everything's in there. You know, it might be a heavy box and you think that everything's in there, but it could just be, you know, charging cable and the instructions and there's not even the Walkman inside. Make sure you open it up. And if you open it up and not everything's in there, please don't just leave the empty box on the shelf like still open with things hanging out. Put it back how you got it. The amount of times I find things on the thrift store shelf and it just looks like it's been attacked by a bunch of bin chickens, you know, just pecking at the inside trying to find those hot chips. No, put it back. Put it all back inside. Like, don't be an animal. Come on. So yeah, $150 for the Walkman. I've mentioned on the newsletter that if you want to see what a $1,000 CD Walkman looks like, you need to go back and check out issue number 48 of the Flip Weekly newsletter, because I found a CD Walkman on Marketplace that I paid around $200 for, and I've listed up for $1,000 on eBay. So if you want to see what a $1,000 CD Walkman looks like, go to flipweekly.com, check out the past issues of the newsletter and check that out. This all came before the podcast, so I've never talked about it on the podcast before. I'm not going to bore you with it now, but $1,000 for a CD Walkman, check it out, because I mean, if you find one like this and you like money and you want to make $1,000, yeah, you want to be on the lookout for it. The next item that I found in a thrift store, I need to be careful with, because I was taking photos of it in my closet, because in my closet I have this huge space that isn't being used, and it's very convenient to put eBay items in there, shine a light on it and use it as like a photography space. Anyway, I put it in there, took photos of it, moved it around, and then I left it in there because it's so big that I didn't know where to put it, shut the closet door. And what do you know, the next day I went to open the closet door, open it, I was had a fucking heart attack seeing this thing. And if you see the photos on the newsletter, you'll know why. Okay, this is a 3-foot tall Care Bear. It has innocent eyes, but when they're looking at you from inside a dark closet, this thing looks like a drop bear, right? Like it's gonna, you know, bite your neck, fucking drink your blood. Found in a thrift store for $10. It was on the ground next to a original Care Bear. You know, everyone knows Care Bears, right? They're the multicolored bear plush toy things that have different icons and images on their stomach. Some of them have smells, but you know, I'm not talking about, you know, thrift store smells. I'm talking about like scented smells. They're pretty collectible. You know, there's a huge market for Care Bears, for the newer ones, for the older ones, you know, the slightly different ones. And they've been around for a while. I looked up a bit of history about Care Bears just to, you know, just for something to do. And I didn't know that they started in the 80s as like these sort of mascots for greeting cards. Like I to be honest, I've never really thought about it, but I assumed they were made, you know, as like a TV show, a movie, animation show, and then from there they got all their merchandise. But no, they started on cards. And I mean, it's the 80s. There isn't much else to do except write cards, I guess. Um, so that's how they got their start, and then yeah, they went on to being this huge, cash cow IP because they have merch now. They have TV shows, movies. Um, I don't know if they have theme park rides, but I'm sure there's some sort of Care Bears world somewhere in this world. And yeah, this Care Bear that I found was 3 foot tall. It's 90 centimeters full, like fully laying down, 60 centimeters when it's sitting up. But I've placed it next to a regular sized Care Bear just so you can see what the size difference is. And I mean, a regular sized Care Bear is what, like 30 centimeters sitting down, maybe? When I say like an original Care Bear is 30 centimeters and this is 90 centimeters, it doesn't sound that big, like 3 times the size. But man, this thing is like fucking, it's fat, it's tall. It would crush a baby. It would crush a newborn baby. I'm not I'm not telling a lie. Looking at this, it would crush newborn baby, and it'd be smiling when it did it too, which is the creepy thing. But yeah, this Care Bear is decent size. I've never seen them this big before, to be honest. And knowing what I know about Care Bears, which isn't a lot, but I just know that they're sort of on the higher echelon of plush toys, is that it's worth a look up. So I looked this thing up in the thrift store and I found one active comp and one sold comp. The active comp was $210 with $100 postage and 14 people watching it. So that's $310 in total. I looked at the sold listings and there was one sold listing and it sold for $200. So this Care Bear, with not many active listings, I mean one active listing, I just have to beat, if I want to sell before the other one, providing condition is the same, blah, 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 I have to beat $310. So do I list it for $309.95? Do I want to do like that sort of price is right mentality? But no, I could realistically get $250 for this plush toy. And I mean, it's big. It's probably going to cost a lot in shipping. I actually looked into if you should, vacuum seal large plush toys, because I thought, well, this thing is, 90 centimeters long. There's a cutoff with Australia Post, I think, of like, what is it, like 115 centimeters? So it beats that. But I thought, what if I vacuum sealed this thing down? It would be the size of like a chicken stock cube, But no, okay, you don't want to be doing that. I'll tell you why. People that collect plush toys do not want deformed plush toys. If you vacuum seal a plush, it may or may not reform its original shape. There is no guarantees, especially if you get shipping something that isn't the best quality, if the fabric is old, if the inside is old, it's just not worth it. So shipping these things, you want to ship it full size. You have two options really. You can put it inside some sort of poly bag, or you can put it inside of a box. As it's already 90 centimeters, you could probably squish it down into a smaller box. Will I be doing that? I'm still unsure, just because you could realistically wrap some bubble wrap around it and chuck it inside of a like a poly bag-esque type thing. I don't think they make poly bags that big. You can't get a Australia Post extra large satchel that will fit a 90 centimeter plush toy. You really need to chuck it in like a garbage bag and then seal it up or wrap some tape around it. I've done that before for some bigger plush toys, like some giant Simpson toys. But yeah, because it's $250, you might want to be not shipping it in like a garbage bag. It's just not the best look. When I'm shipping some stuff out that's worth a bit more, like if I'm shipping out a $200 DVD, you could realistically put it inside one of those, like an envelope. But they're paying a bit more. What's paying like an extra $5 to put it inside of a box or put it inside of a padded mailer with like a bit of cardboard? So I think I'd do a box. I should be able to squish it down inside of a box. Hopefully it doesn't fucking break out of it. This thing creeps me out, man. Like, I think it's because of seeing it inside of my cupboard late at night and just peering out. and being freaked out, hoping that it doesn't, stick its claws through. But yeah, I hope it's gone soon because this thing is big. It takes up so much space. And it's sort of brand new too. I don't see any sort of markings on it. I haven't dared sniffed it yet. I looked online and it said it's scented, but I'm not putting my nose anywhere close to this thing because I don't want to know if it smells, okay? It could smell like fucking sunshines and lollipops, but I'm not putting my nose anywhere close to it. Whoever buys it can smell it and leave some feedback. I will not dispute the feedback if you say that it smells, okay? But yeah, this is apparently a rare Care Bear too. One of the forums that I go on to try and learn some more information when I'm not getting much on eBay because, you go on an eBay listing now, it's all AI descriptions that tell you nothing. I want to know where this Care Bear came from. I want to know how it came to be so that I can tell a story. Because when you're selling something expensive, you want to be able to tell a story. People want to know where you got it from or what the history is behind it. And it also creates some sort of like emotional connection too. So I looked online and I went to the Care Bear subreddit, reddit.com. If you're not familiar, it's sort of like a forum. It has topics about virtually everything. And the Care Bears subreddit, so like the Care Bears community, has 200,000 members. So I was able to do some searching for this specific Care Bear. It was called like a Sweet Celebrations Bear. I don't know why it's called that, but I just typed in that plus the word jumbo when there was like a Reddit thread of two people talking about this specific bear. And I'll just read out the very short conversation between these two people. It's only 2 paragraphs, not even that. It's like 6 lines. So this Reddit user called EMC Darby said, "I'm shocked there is a jumbo Sweet Celebrations bear. I just tried to search for it on eBay and didn't see any like it listed. I just tried a DuckDuckGo search on it and still nothing came up. It has me wondering where did it come from and where can I find it as I would like to get one." So this is like one of many Reddit comments talking about this bear, being unsure where it came from. And I mean, these are Care Bears enthusiasts and they don't know where it came from. So that to me says that it's a rare bear, a rare Care Bear, and that you can use that in your listing description, instead of using one of those really, really shit AI descriptions. Anyway, the person that posted the image of the bear said, "It's a prize bear won at an arcade and cost a ton. I doubt it'll be on eBay. Hunter Leisure jumbos rarely are. They're a nightmare to ship from Australia, so sellers don't bother." So this person has said that it's won at an arcade and cost a ton. We can use that. We can say in the description that the only way to get these is by winning at an arcade. And no one wins at arcades. They're designed against us. They're like casinos and poker machines. They're heavily weighed against us. So you can use that saying, now's your chance to get it. You don't have to bother at an arcade, a rigged arcade. Buy it direct from me. I'll send it straight to you. This person also said they're a nightmare to ship from Australia, so sellers don't bother. I have a word for you. What's her? Lauren Shapiro on Reddit. There's nothing more that I love doing than causing headaches and nightmares for myself. So this Australian seller will be shipping the Care Bear. Like I said, I don't know how I'm going to ship it. This person said it's a nightmare to ship, but we will see. So yeah, I just seeing this giant Care Bear, this jumbo Care Bear, it stands out to me. It should stand out to you. You see the normal size ones all the time. You see a jumbo one, you think, okay, well, this is different. Let's check him out. Turns out it's like a $300 Care Bear. $250 if you're me and undercutting the original seller. So I think that will be a good sale. Not too sure how it will go. The other one has 14 people watching it. You would think that I'd be able to sell mine quicker with the cheaper price, and I'll let you know how it goes. The next item is a DVD that you can look for in your thrift store. And I got really lucky with this one because it was brand new and sealed. And for this specific DVD, having them brand new and sealed seems to be the difference between selling one DVD for $30 and selling that same DVD for $50. So what DVD is it? Well, you can actually see me finding this DVD on Instagram if you go to instagram.com/flipweekly. Or you can hear me talk about it right now. It is a DVD called The Amazing World of Gumball. I was able to find volume 1, 2, and 3, all brand new and sealed. And for whatever reason, they stuck out to me at the thrift. I was browsing the DVDs, looking for anything different. And I saw the artwork on the spine of this. It sort of looked like animation. It sort of looked like something a bit different. I saw the Cartoon Network logo on it, and I saw all three next to each other. And I thought, let's check it out, and pulled them all out, all sealed. I looked it up online, The Amazing Gumball, and all three volumes, I have to tell you, in for a payday here. They were $3 each. They were $9 in total for the three. If we check out the sold comps on it, just volume 1 and volume 2, there is a sold comp for $99.99, so $100. And if we check out the active listing, the highest active listing is for volume 1, 2, and 3, which is what I found. They were pre-owned for $114.95. Now, here's where we get to make up some prices. That's pre-owned. Looking at the active comps, looking at the sold comps, brand new and sealed fetches more money. So I can list mine for $114.95 and compete with the highest active listing that's there. However, the listings are not equal. I have brand new and sealed. This other person has pre-owned. If you're a buyer and you're going to spend over $100 on 3 of volume 1, 2, and 3 of this DVD, would you rather pay $114.95 for pre-owned or pay a tiny bit more for brand new and sealed? So I came up with the number $149.95. I thought that was fair. If I listed it for $114.95 like that other guy, it would net me about $70. Sorry, that was my phone going off. I thought I put it on silent. $70 in profit. But if I did $149.95, it'd get me $98 in profit. Annoying because it's not exactly 100, but $9 into 150 with $98 in profit. I mean, come on. This thing has a good sell-through rate too. So the thing is with these DVDs, man, you just got to be checking anything that looks unusual. And you sort of got to look at enough DVDs to realize what looks different. You're going to go past, all the Modern Family, what other TV shows are constantly in thrift stores? Supernatural, Smallville, things like that, and just look for things that are different. And different usually means a higher chance of being worth something. So this TV show, this animated TV show, it looks like a kid's show too. Who would guess it's worth $150 for the 3 DVDs? But yeah, anything different, because different means it's not mainstream. Mainstream means it's niche. It probably didn't have a bigger run in production. Manufacturing, not as many DVDs, means they're rarer. Means if they get like some sort of cult following or there's an interest in them, they're going to cost more money to buy on eBay. And that's what we want. When every other reseller is buying season 1 to 15 of Modern Family, spending X amount of dollars just to get that complete set of Modern Family, no, you're going to be spending $9 on The Amazing World of Gumball, getting 3 DVDs and selling it for $150. Okay? Fuck off Modern Family. Although the first few seasons were pretty funny, right? You want to be buying The Amazing World of Gumball. But like I said, check out Instagram. I'll be posting the video the same morning that this goes live. Just look at the DVDs that are surrounding it. Just browse that shelf and see if your eyes lock on to this DVD. See if there's anything about it that you can say to yourself, well, this looks different than what's next to it. I would pull this out. Because we're not standing there scanning every single DVD, okay? Like scanning it manually with our phone. We're scanning with our eyes and we're pulling out anything that looks a tiny bit different. That's it. That's what you need to be learning. Yeah, you need to be learning to spot the difference. Now, there's a few other things that I bought this week that I'm not going to go into too much detail. They're on the newsletter if you want to check them out. I'll run through them real quick. There was one that was this handheld pocket poker machine, which I thought was really cool. Found in a thrift store for $15. It should sell for $100. I found a Daniel Ricciardo Formula One jersey for $15. I picked it up because the Formula One has just ended here in Australia. Everyone should be high on a buzz with it. Comps on eBay have it around 100 to 150 bucks. So that was a no-brainer, 15 bucks there. There was a WWE wrestling belt. These wrestling belts go crazy. I picked it up for $2. Comps online are around 50 bucks. And finally, there was a West Tigers NRL jersey that I found for $10 and should sell for about 80 on eBay. These jerseys always sell fast. I'm pretty sure I have a whole bunch of jersey collectors following me on eBay and Marketplace. So whenever I list one, they always go quick. But if you want to check out those images, if you want to learn a bit more about those, check out the newsletter. I won't be going into detail here because we're going to be moving on right now to my thoughts on Flipped It, the software created by the Aussie Flipper, who's generously gifted me a subscription to it so that I can check it out, let you guys know what I think about it. And at the end, I also have a discount for you if you want to check it out. First of all, I want to say that this is not a paid review of Flipped It, okay? Flip Weekly has never had any banner ads, pop-up ads, text ads, no paywalls. The newsletter has always been 100% free. This podcast has always been 100% free. And this is just an honest review of the software. Matt reached out to me and said, do you want to have a go at it? And I said, yeah, sure. I said, would I be able to get a discount for readers if they want to check it out? He said, yes, sure. And I thought, well, let's check it out. Let's see what it's all about. And at the end, if it sounds like something you're interested in, I have a link for you and you can get 20% off. So what is it? It's a better looking version of a spreadsheet. Okay. This is a web app that has a much nicer and easier to use interface than a spreadsheet. If you've ever gone to Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel and you've seen all of the cells and been like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. How am I supposed to track my eBay inventory with all these different cells? What do I put in the A column? What do I put in the B column? Then this is something for you, okay? The reason why is it is an easy to use solution to tracking your eBay inventory, tracking your sales, tracking your finances, seeing what you're paying for items, your profit margins, different sort of data points like that. And look, when it comes to life, okay, I'm not just talking about eBay, I'm talking about life. The more data you have on any sort of activity, the better decisions and judgments you can make. Take, for example, your health. I use a iPhone app called MyFitnessPal. And using MyFitnessPal, I can record any sort of exercise that I do. That feature doesn't usually get used. And then I can record any sort of food that I eat, any sort of snacks that I have. And it breaks down all of the calories. It breaks down, if you're trying to hit protein goals. And with that, you can make better informed decisions about your life. Would you rather have a tablespoon of oil when you're cooking and have 150 calories, or, have like fucking 2 muesli bars, okay? Having data can improve your life if you act upon the data. So how does that relate to Flipped It? Flipped It, if you put all of your data into Flipped It, all of your eBay listings, how much you're paying for items, when they're selling, how much profit you're making, you can make better informed decisions about what items you're going to be buying and selling. So I gave Flipped It a try. I signed up. I started inputting some of the items that I found this week, and it's very easy to use. Once you sign up, you add an item, you fill in the details, and that gets added to your active listings. It's really that simple. At the moment, the software doesn't connect up to your eBay account. I think that if it did in the future, that's going to save a lot of time. If you were able to connect to your eBay account, it pulls in all of your listings. It pulls in all of this data. There would be some data that it wouldn't have, like cost of goods. But, if there was some sort of onboarding process, you'd be able to fill in those fields yourself. It would take a bit of time, but it would take less time than the current solution because at the moment, it's manual submissions. So if you have 300 items in your eBay store, you have to add all those items manually. I'm sure in the future, it's going to be updated to have that feature. At the moment, it's not. So it seems a bit more geared towards people starting out, just starting out. I have X amount of listings in my eBay store. Could I see myself adding all of them here? I'm way, way too lazy to be doing that. You could outsource it to a VA maybe, but for me, that is just a bit too much work. This is a side hustle for me. So if it's your full-time job, you probably should be doing that. But for me, I can't be bothered. However, if you're just starting out, you have a couple of listings in your eBay store and you had to choose between, Flipped It, this web app, or starting a spreadsheet, I would 100% start with this web app because it's much easier to use. It seems like it's getting features added all the time. There's feature updates. I've gone back through their changelog and I've seen that the developers have been adding new features seemingly every week, which is a good sign when it comes to these types of software. You want to see somebody adding new things all the time, or at least fixing things all the time. And what I'm most excited about with this is there's a tab on the side that says insights that are coming soon. That means that it's going to be providing data back to you, or providing insights back to you on your active listings, on what's sold. Now that, to me, could be a game changer, because in Flipped It, when you're adding an item, you can add certain data points like where you sourced an item from. So if you put in, you sourced the item from, Matt's thrift store, and throughout all of your active listings, once an item's sold, that data's passed through. It has, the length that the item was listed for, how much it sold for, the profit that you made. It could analyze that information and tell you, you need to be going back to this thrift store more because your return from each visit is 10 times the return for any other visit. And from that, you would be able to, change the route that you go on when you're going thrifting. You could be doing a huge circle going to all these different thrift stores when in reality, you're getting much better return just from visiting like this one or this one or this one. So I think that is really exciting. I think that having more data, I just think that there needs to be a few more data points added so that it can make better decisions. It can get that from your eBay listings if it's able to connect up to the eBay API. I haven't looked into the eBay API yet, but if it's not possible, I don't know, maybe some sort of import export, however that works, but that's neither here nor there. I think that it is genuinely a good piece of software for new eBay users to start using. And like I said, you want data. You don't want to be going through your, to call it an eBay journey without knowing how much you're making on certain items and how much your cost of goods is and profit and all that sort of shit. So you want to be tracking it. Even if the features aren't there at the moment with Flipped It, it is quite bare bones. If you have the data loaded in there, once these features are being developed and they're able to provide you with some insight, provide you with outcomes from the data you've provided, that is going to be a game changer, I think. I would pay good money to know which thrift stores I'm getting the bigger return from. That means less driving. That means less time going into thrift stores and hearing like the same fucking 5 songs on Smooth FM. That just means that it saves you time, saves you petrol. From that, your profit's only going to go up. So I'm excited for it just based on the data. And when you have the data, like I've said, you can make better decisions. And if this piece of software can make those decisions for you, spit out what you should be doing, what you should be focusing on more, then that is something that every eBayer should have. So with that said, I'm not getting paid for this. There's no affiliate link. There's no commission being sent back to me. Matt has given a 20% discount for all Flip Weekly readers and listeners. All you need to do to take advantage of this 20% offer is go to flipweekly.com/flipped it. That's flipweekly.com/flipped it, spelt FLIPPEDIT. So it's Flipped It with 2 P's. And yeah, flipweekly.com/flipped it. And let me know what you think. Let me know if it's going to help your business. Let me know if you find it easy to use. Any feedback that you give to me, I'll pass on to Matt and the team. flipweekly.com/flipped it. All right, let's move on to what I sold this week. I don't want to hear, oh, you sold out. No, like that wasn't a paid review. No, what I sold this week. So think back to issue number 57, which was last week. Last week's podcast, last week's newsletter. Traveled 200 kilometers for 20 WWE action figures. They cost me $40, minus, of course, the fuel and the 7-Eleven Slurpee that I mentioned. And it was a spur of the moment trip. I'd comped up one of the figures and it was comping for around $80. So when I got home, I separated that figure from all the others. Yeah, and I decided, what should I do with the 19 WWE action figures that aren't worth $80 like this other one is? And I thought, the funnest thing to do, that's where my brain went. It didn't think what the thing that would get the most money would be. I was like, what could give me a bit of dopamine? A auction, 7 days, starting at $9.95. If it sold for $9.95, who gives a fuck? It's a bit of fun. So I listed them up, $9.95. I took some photos. WWE action figures, they are a good thing to be finding. If you find the right one, like I did with the Chris Benoit action figure that is listed up for $80. If you find the right one, you can make, over $20 per figure, and you'll be picking these up for like $1 to $2, I'm sure. Like I just saw on Instagram, Flipster Doofus has found a WWE action figure of the Great Khali in the trash. In the trash, and he's gone on to sell for $35. So these action figures, these WWE action figures, anytime you see them, you want to be checking out who the wrestler is. If they killed their family, like Chris Benoit, Jesus, that's fucking morbid. You can get more money because they don't make them anymore. There's no other WWE wrestler that's done that. So Chris Benoit is the only one. I don't know what I'm saying. Back to it. I listed up the 19 figures for $9.95. 7-day auction, and the bids started to roll in instantly. They went, first one $9.95, jumped up to $11, then $11.50, $13.50, $16.50, $19.50. I remember I forgot that I had an auction going on, and I usually keep my phone on silent, and I remember seeing all these eBay notifications coming up on my phone, and I have them hidden until you unlock the phone, and that's when you see what they say. So I had 5 or 6 come up. I'm like, what the fuck is going on my eBay account? I'm either selling every single one of my items, or someone is spamming the fuck out of my account on eBay messages. And that's when I checked and I saw, the auction price going up, but I'd be a bit worried for a second. So yeah, at that point I put up a poll on Instagram and I asked you guys, what do you think it's going to end at? The bids at the moment were up to, what was it, $19.50. And the poll results, out of 4 different numbers that you could choose from, out of 4 different poll results, out of 4 different poll options, you could either choose $20 to $40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, or 80 to 100. Majority of people thought these were going to sell for between either $60 to $80 or $80 to $100. There was people thought that 19 action figures were going to sell for between 60 and 60 and up. That's it. There was 11% of people thought 20 to 40, 0% thought 40 to 60. So I thought that was interesting. Sort of got my hopes up too. I was like, okay, I wouldn't mind $100 coming out of this. I mean, I only paid 40. The Chris Benoit figure will get me 80. If I get 100 from it, then I'm in the profit. My hourly wage would be fucking what you expect working at I don't know. I'd be happy making $100 is what I'm saying. So the bids still were rolling in. A few days later, $36, $41, and I was counting it down. I was watching the auction time go down. I could see that there was 5 minutes left. And having done an auction before with the Blythe doll that ended up selling for, it's $700. Check that out on Flip Weekly if you haven't. But I knew that the last few minutes were when everyone gets their bids in. So yeah, with 5 minutes left, it was stuck at $41. They had 22 bids. And then I just watched it go from 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left, 1 minute left. Getting ready for the late flurry, $41, and then nothing. There was no flurry of late bids. There was no more dopamine hits. It was a final selling price of $41 plus shipping. It's a disappointing number in the sense that I was wanting to see it go up just for the dopamine hits, just to see it jump from 41 to, I don't know, 50, 60, 70, 80. But no, sold for $41 plus shipping. A bit less than what I thought. Can you imagine if I included every single figure and I just bought them for $40 to sell them for $41? I would have made a loss. I've probably made a loss anyway, considering fuel, time, 7-Eleven Slurpee. But yeah, $41 for 19 figures. Those figures, when I did comp them out, they all seem to be around like the $10, $15, $20 marks. There was none that really had that much demand. There was none that had huge sell-through rates. There was none that really stuck out as being worth over $30. So I shouldn't be surprised. Auctions are always going to result in a lower price. That's just how it works. Similar sort of numbers in terms of action figures, WWE action figures on eBay. You could probably list this up for around $100 and it would sell. It would sell eventually, but it would sell. So you sell it for less for the joy, the excitement of an auction. If you did it again, chuck it up for a buy it now. I mean, I'm telling you this. Chuck it up for a buy it now, at least $100. You will get it. It will take some time, but you will get it. $41 is definitely under the amount that you would expect from action figures, WWE action figures. Like I said, Flips to Doofus on Instagram and on YouTube. Found one in the trash, which I like to keep pointing out, for $35. Just one, and this lot of 19 sold for 41. So as you can imagine, buy it now is always going to be better for any sort of item, unless you want the dopamine hits like I did. But anyway, the next item is something cool, something I didn't expect to sell. Really, I thought it would get some interest, but I didn't expect it to get this much interest. Found them in a thrift store for $1 each. There were 10 magazines from 2010 to 2014. They were total girl magazines, and on the covers they had, Disney stars and country music singers such as Taylor Swift. I'm sure she was a country music singer in 2010, right? She started out as a country music singer, right? Just like Miley. Miley did the same, didn't she? Anyway, there was a whole bunch of them. There was Total Girl, and I think also It Girl or IT Girl. I'm sure it wasn't IT Girl. I'm sure it was It Girl. Yeah, it wouldn't be IT Girl, right? I don't know. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of them, and I decided that I wanted to get the same brand because I thought it would make for a cleaner listing. And I wanted to pick out the magazines that had, people that are still relevant, people that are famous today. So I found some with Taylor Swift on them. I chose an even 10, again, just because it would look cleaner in the listing. And, I didn't leave a whole host behind. I left bits and pieces behind that were a bit inconsistent. So I got, 10 of these magazines. So if you're not familiar, Total Girl back in the 2010s was aimed towards, I guess, like preteens or very early teen girls. And it had, stories and news and gossip about celebrities. It had interviews with, people like Taylor Swift, people like Miley Cyrus. They also had, I'm pretty sure they had like crosswords in there. I don't know. I never read one of these, by the way, but they just had, all that sort of, think of like a women's weekly geared towards, the elderly women, but this is exactly that, but geared towards younger girls. Okay. So it's nothing, it's all fun stuff, really. And it was a bit earlier than like the Dolly mags or those ones, which had like sealed sections about, they had like sex stuff in there. This is way before that. This is an earlier demographic, preteens or early teens. So yeah, from 2010, 2014, these magazines were from. And in the thrift store, I was just wondering, like, Taylor Swift is so fucking popular. And I just thought, this is technically like vintage Taylor Swift, right? These are vintage photos. Some of them I think had posters in them. It wouldn't be something that Swifties would have today, right? Like, I don't think teens now own magazines or buy magazines or even know what magazines are, right? They have books. Do they have magazines? Are there Total Goal magazines in 2025? I have no fucking idea. But I thought, yeah, this might be something interesting that Swifties wanted to buy. I was mainly focused on Taylor Swift. There was, like I said, Miley Cyrus and some other Disney stars in there, Ariana Grande, Selena Gomez. And yeah, I just thought, give it a go. And then I looked up the comps for this sort of stuff, and the bundles did really well. These old Total Goal magazines and old like pop culture magazines surprisingly did well. And I could see bundles of like 5 selling for like $30 ish. So I put together my bundle of 10 and I listed for $60 on eBay. And I was so surprised at the number of views that this thing got. This had 90 views on eBay within a month. It sold within a month. This thing was out the door, and I honestly couldn't believe it. Just this was just such a gamble purchase. It was fun buying them too. Like, here's this bloke coming up with 10 Total Goal magazines. Just, man, some of these things that I buy, I get so weirded out just thinking like, am I really going to go up to the counter with this shit? But yeah, put it on the counter. Don't ask any questions. Let me take my Total Goal magazines out in peace. But yeah, these magazines in general too, some of them do really well. You see, I see in thrift stores like car magazines. I don't ever pick them up, but there are magazines that I've seen that do amazing. Like my holy grail of magazines would be to find like a whole bunch of Nintendo Power magazines out in the thrift store or in a garage sale, because I can just see it. I'm manifesting it right now. Old school Nintendo Power magazines priced $1 each, and they can be worth a shit ton of money. They're like from the very, very late 80s to early 90s, talking about, it's Nintendo Power, old school Nintendo games coming up, games that have just come out. Some of them have posters in them, like the Total Goal magazines. And, issue number 1 can sell for $500. And I can just see it now, like a thrift store being like, it's just a magazine, chuck it out, and then me coming in, swoop it in, finding it, and then talking about it. It's on my holy grail list. When there's certain items that you want to buy, that you want to find in a thrift store, that's one of mine in terms of magazines. So I'm always looking at magazines if I see them on a bookshelf, just in the hopes that one day I find like a Nintendo Power issue number 1, $500. I'd be buying every single copy, and yeah, you'll hear about it because I'll be screaming it from the fucking rooftops. Like, I don't know what I'd be screaming. I don't know. I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be screaming out all over Sydney, I have a Nintendo Power issue number 1. No one cares. But yeah, check out magazines. Like, you can easily tell them apart from books when they're on the shelf. And yeah, you might get lucky like these Total Goal magazines, $1 each into $60, or these Nintendo Power, get them for $2 and turn into $500 if you're lucky. Now, finally, for what I sold, I'm just going to run through a few items here. I'm not going to go into detail. If you want to see the photos, if you want to learn more about them, jump on over to the newsletter. But the Rugby League West Tigers jersey that I picked up this week that I talked about in the What I Bought section, that's gone on to sell. That sold in 2 hours of listing on Facebook Marketplace for $50 plus post. So that was really good. That was 10 into 50 in 2 hours. Now, the Daniel Ricciardo F1 jersey that I also picked up, that sold in 48 hours on Marketplace for $80. Somebody came and picked it up. They said to me, if I bring my daughter, can she try it on? And I was like, okay, that's fine. I always get a bit uncomfortable when people ask to try on clothes that you're selling, just because you don't want them to stretch it. I'm not like a retail store. I'm not a clothing store. I don't have change rooms. I don't have anything else. On Marketplace, you usually like take a gamble and buy it. You don't try it on. But anyway, they came and she just took a look at it and was like, yeah, this is cool, and bought it. Didn't end up trying it on. But yeah, $80, that was 15 into 80 within 48 hours, which I was really happy about. And also that WWE wrestling belt that I mentioned, that sold within 5 hours on Marketplace for $40 plus post. So some really quick sells there, and that's what we want. We want high sell-through rates. We want items that are selling quickly. We love that cash on Marketplace. We love it. We just love that fast sale. So I mean, these are all items that you should be buying, you should be memorizing, you should be checking out the photos. You know, you're listening to this, but you want to be seeing the photos just so you have that in your memory bank. And yeah, these are good sales. Now that's all that I have for you this week. Thanks again for listening. Thanks again for checking out that Flip Weekly newsletter. Remember, you can follow Flip Weekly on all the social platforms. And if you're listening now, I mean, you've made it through an hour plus of Flip Weekly, and that is honestly insane. I may be a bit flaky over the next few months. I do have to say, though, that I've pre-recorded some podcasts, and those podcasts are they're bigger and better than anything I've ever done. You think that making $100 on a weekend is interesting, $1,000 on a weekend is interesting, $10,000 a weekend is interesting, even $50,000 on a weekend is interesting. I'm going to top all of that. I have so many stories to tell you. They're all personal stories. They're all stories I haven't told before. They're not deep dives into my past, but I'm telling you stories that I've experienced. It's a lot there, and once you hear them, you'll be able to Google it. You'll be able to confirm, and you'll probably learn a bit more about me, and I'll learn a bit more about you. And but yeah, they're all banked up, ready to go. I'm still thrifting. I'm still garage sailing. But if I am flaky in the next few weeks, then just know when I hit you with the podcasts, they're going to be different, but they are going to be fucking legit. And I guarantee the engagement is going to be off the charts. So yeah, social media, follow us up, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all of that. If you have any questions, if you have anything you want to submit, go to the website. You can email me at matt@flipweekly.com. That's Matt with one T, the only way to spell it. You can send your stuff to me on Instagram too, just like those readers today. I still can't get over that fucking foot rot flats flip. Like, oh, that guy's made so much money just from like $100 investment. It's crazy to me. But yeah, hit me up. I'll see you again next week. Thanks again for listening. Thanks again for reading. Thanks again for everything. I love you guys, and I'll see you again next week.